Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be back at Cecil's wonderful, amazing tropical paradise here, right here in West Palm Beach, Florida. There's so many people here in South Florida that are selling mangoes during this season, but this place is special. This place, Lawrence Zill, who actually was one of the main propagators of many of the popular mangoes that are out there, this was his property. And Cecil got the property and maintaining the trees and top work some trees and put in some new trees. And look, he's sharing the love and spreading it with everyone. So he has a bunch of mangoes available. I'm going to put his phone number and his hours below. This is a place you want to visit if you come in mango hunting in West Palm Beach. He's just amazing, and he has such a variety of mangoes here. And this is one place I definitely go to taste new mangoes that I haven't tasted before. And the thing I love about him is he picks the mangoes when they're ready to be eaten, not like weeks before. You don't have to wait weeks to eat one of these mangoes. At tops, a day or two. But these mangoes are going to be ready. So get out to him. His number's below, and we're going to have a great time here.
All right. Anyhow, this is a Bailey's marble tree. It had two crops this year. This is the second crop. And this is a very good mango. Has kind of a fruity candy taste. A lot of people aren't aware of it, but people that have tasted it, the vast majority love it. And this is a mango that it ripens by the hour, and when it gets ripe, it'll just fall out of the tree, and one fell out of the tree just about a minute ago. So,
is it an early season or late season?
it's considered to be a mid-season, but they don't always follow the schedule.
How old is this tree?
This tree has got to be probably 30 years old. It's a big, vigorous tree, but I've cut it a lot, or it would be, excuse me, 3 times this size. Now this mango here just fell out of the tree just a minute ago. And that's what they do. They'll ripen very quickly, and when they get ripe, there they go. They're right out of the tree, and that's that. So that's one I'll come back and pick up in a few minutes.
Okay.
This is a southern blush tree, excuse me. And
Southern
it had a pretty good crop. It does have a problem with bacterial black spot, and I've lost over half my fruit this year. Because of that, and I'm working on some things to try to make it more resilient, but I do not claim to have the answer to the problem yet. And with more time, I think I can come up with a resolution. But right now, it's disappointing that you're losing more than half your fruit.
Well, this is an old tree, Southern Blush.
It's an old tree through Southern Blush, an older variety. It's a very good mango if you know when to cut it. You want to let it get really soft, like any other mango would be overripe, and then it's good to go. This mango over here is a Zill 80.
Zill 80.
Yeah, Zill 80. And of course, it was named in 1980. This was kind of the pride and joy of Lawrence Zill. And it's a nice mango. It's got some issues. The big mangoes like this, when you get around 2.5, 3 pounds, basically they have a problem with uneven ripening. That's just kind of comes with the territory. But it's a good mango, and quite a few people like it, but it's not well known. It hasn't been propagated for well over 20 years.
So this is the one of the original trees?
I'm not sure about the history on this particular tree. I don't know if it was a top work or if it was planted. It was before my time.
But this is Zill's one of his properties from the past.
Yes, this was Lawrence Zill's personal residence before he passed away. Now over here we have a tree that's it's actually a top work tree. It's got 3 different types of fruit. The one that's the most interesting is this one right here. This is what's called a Banganapalli. It's from southern India. People from northern India don't know what it is. They've never heard of it. But in southern India, it's very popular. Has a very strong, different taste. And what I try to do with my fruit is pick the fruit when it's ripe. And so, for example, with this one, every mango has its own little story. And see, that one, what I did is I saw that the pinnacle was dried up. I just put the weight of the picker pole on it and gave it a shake, and it came off. And as you see, it's not even bleeding. So that mango, that's when you pick it. Just give it a little test. If you go up and you do that, and it doesn't come down without a tug, then it's not quite ready. So you can just go around if you can get to them, put the little pressure on, and if you're ready to go, they're going to come right down and they're going to be totally fed, ready to pick. Perfect flavor for that mango. Now, this part of the tree over here is a old Florida mango that nobody has. I think it's probably one of the parents of Kent. It has kind of some similarities to the Kent in the texture, but it's a Golden Delight. It's a real nice mango, but it's kind of an alternate bear. This one had a good crop last year, and this year it's really not doing much, which is standard.
Okay, so there's 3 on this tree. You have
Golden Delight.
Golden Delight.
Here is an Alanpour Banasham, which is from India.
Alanpour Banasham.
Banasham. And it's a real nice mango. It's got a whitish looking flesh. It's got a little spice to it, but not overbearing. I like this one. I don't like the Banganapalli personally. It's just a little too much for me, but I'm just going to show you. There's another one. You can see this one looks like it's ready to go. Now I'm going to give it a little. Okay. I didn't pull. I just shook it. And now that one's got a problem. They do have a little issue with, skin break and all. And over here on this tree, this is Dot.
These trees are amazing,
This part of the tree here is Dot, and this part of the tree is Val Carrie. And I have 4 Val Carrie trees, or actually 3.5 since this is a half tree. But my small trees didn't bloom, but my large trees had the best crop they've had in 4 or 5 years, and double bloom. So that's what's happening with the Val Carries. This part here is Dot, though. And Dot is very interesting because it'll hold a mango. Okay, gotta watch that. That's a Fairchild. The Dot will hold mangoes after they've ripened on the tree until they just shrivel up. They just won't drop them. So they have a very strong pentacle, and you got to pull to get those guys off. And see, like this one, well, it actually came off with the pentacle intact. So anyhow, that's a Dot, and I got a good crop. This is the second crop of Dots on the tree, and I didn't bring my bucket, unfortunately, but you can see there's some signs right here. Same thing.
Now, is there a chance that some of these might be the original ones, or not really?
I don't know the history, and whatever I say would just be pure speculation. But over here, well, let me see. I have something here that I noticed, and while we're walking around, I thought it might make some sense just to keep my picker pole and try to see the mangoes that are going to fall off in the next hour or two. And I saw one a minute ago, but now as you change your position and the light changes, you lose stuff. It's kind of like an Easter egg hunt, picking fruit. But and here's a Val Carrie that fell off, and that's got a stronger taste than a Carrie does. And people that like a little more kick to the mangoes, they like this one. It's nice and sweet, but it has just a stronger flavor. I personally am not crazy about it. I like a Carrie, but not that one. Got to keep those things separate. And here's another one on the ground. This is a Zill tree here, and has a very good crop. And this tree, when they start coming in, they just rain off the tree. It's ridiculous. And they come off real easy like that one. So you just touch it, boom, there it is. And I got to kind of keep things straight here so I don't get confused.
All right, that's a Zill.
It's really important to keep your drops and your picked fruit separate. I should have brought my bucket. This is a Rosy gold tree. It had a nice early crop in April. Many years it comes in the middle of March. And what happens, though, almost every year is we get the March winds. The fruit is 3/4 size. And I'll get 80% of the fruit blown off the tree because it's real windy over here next to the highway. So you come out, you get real excited, you got all this fruit on the way, and then next thing you know, the wind picks up 25 miles an hour, and you come out here and you just fruit everywhere, you lose everything. Now this tree here is a Cockstall. Cockstall, and this tree had double bloom, tremendous first crop. I'm working on the second crop, I'm almost finished. They come in like crazy, really fast, and this tree has produced at least 200 pounds of fruit. It's ridiculous how much fruit I've gotten off this tree. And it didn't have 100% bloom. It had about an 80% bloom on it. But very, very
Cockstall.
productive.
Okay.
Now you can see as you're walking around, see, you know, watch it. See, you just touch it. Don't stand behind the car because that's the dangerous spot. But
So there's mangoes all over the floor here. Look at
yeah,
this.
I know. That's the way it is. So let me put these together with my drop stuff. My pick stuff.
These are really old trees, 30 years or so. Pretty amazing.
So anyhow, this, as you can see, this Zill has a very, very good crop. All kinds of mangoes. Now this is a Angie, and I've got 5 Angie trees, and this particular one, I would say, has been the most productive. It's the most compact of any, and it's always been a good producer at a small size, which, you know, I've tried this experiment with the ultra high density, and it seems like an Angie would definitely work in that configuration, but other stuff doesn't seem to work. Now this tree here,
How old is this Angie?
I'm going to guess about 5 years old.
Okay.
Without looking at American. This tree is a Glen. This tree had a double bloom, and it had a very good first bloom. Only about 60% of the canopy bloomed, 65%, but it had tremendous production. I was getting 3 dozen mangoes a day. Had mangoes. A Glen is another mango that when it ripens, it'll fall off the tree right away. So you got to just stay on it at least twice a day picking, and then you're still going to have stuff on the ground. This is the second crop now, but this tree also produced at least 200 pounds of fruit, at least.
Wow.
And this tree only had a 60-65% canopy bloom. Tremendous production on that tree. But to be honest with you, this tree has been subpar producing for about 4 years. Last year I only got a couple dozen mangoes. And the year before I hardly got anything. So I thought, well, last year, since it had a year off, it'd be good. Wasn't. This year I was disappointed I didn't get a full canopy bloom, but parts that bloom, they produced so well. I don't know if I could have handled a full bloom because it was killing me. I had tons of blooms. Now these three trees here are all 3 Angies.
These 3 are Angies right here.
All 3. And you know, they're producing okay, but they growing a little different than that one over there. You know,
Now, why is that? Any reason why?
I don't know. It's just the uniqueness of a tree. You know, they don't all behave the same. You can have 2 trees 20 feet apart. They don't produce the same. And I think that's common. My father had an orange orchard in Central Florida many, many years ago, and he had trees that were always really good producers and other trees that were not as good. And it's just something about the dynamics. I don't really understand what it is. That's a Julie tree there. I had 2 blooms on that tree. Had a lot of Julies. I was getting 20, 25 pounds of Julies a day, but I'm almost finished with my second crop. There's just a few left. And so
when your crops are done, do you cut the trees back or do you do that?
That's what you should do. But
Okay.
when you got mangoes coming in, you just don't have the time to do it. This row here, another disappointing row, not good production. I got 3 cacks in here. That's a cack, that's a cack, and that's a cack. And the cacks haven't bloomed very well, and they haven't produced well for me. And they're a very vigorous tree, and you can see it's just really hard to control these guys. So I don't think they're going to work in this ultra high density. A lot of the stuff you see online, what they don't tell you, because to them it's just common knowledge, is they use growth retardants, which I would never use, which I think are illegal in the United States. And that's how they can do what they do with the ultra high density. If you don't have a compact tree or a dwarf rootstock, I don't think you can really do that. You know, if you're trying to stay organic. So, but you got to, you know, try things and see what works and what doesn't. Well, as you can see, it's fall off in a few seconds. And this is a Jakarta we're standing next to here. Not a good thing.
So that's a Jakarta. Such a big tree, so old. Beautiful. He said this one's not the best.
This is a very vigorous tree. It's a cross between a Bombay and a Kent. And I haven't had good production out of my Jakarta. This is a little better than average, but it's a poor producer. Other people have had better luck. This happens to be a cherry tree.
That's a big cherry
the
tree.
cherries
Wow.
didn't do too good this year. They're subpar performance. I've got cherries, but not as many as I should. And over here, this tree has actually got 3 types of fruit on it. The original is a Jacqueline.
Jacqueline,
and here's, they like to fall off the tree, and here's one that fell, and they get
that's
smashed
big.
up pretty bad.
Wow.
This is a small one. They're usually about 1.5 pounds up to 2 pounds. Very
Wow.
soft flesh. A little bit of a lemon note to them. They're nice and sweet, but have a little lemon note. And I did some top working on this tree, and this part is orange sherbet, and it hadn't ever bloomed. And I think my problem is it's getting too much shade under this canopy of the Jacqueline. And over here, this part is Pickering. And I think the same problem. It's on the north side of the tree, and it's getting a little shade from the canopy, and I think that's affecting its performance. So I've got to try to thin that out and do something. I'm not sure if that's going to work out. Over here is a Dupreeh Saigon. Very vigorous tree. Hadn't done as much as it normally does this year. Double bloom, same thing. And it's I'm working through the second bloom now, which is lighter than the first. There's one on the ground. Needs to get out the sun so that it gets too hot. Let's come back and pick that up. This is a Spirit 76. Excuse me. This tree got pushed both ways by Wilma. It got pushed over, and then when wind changed direction, it pushed it back over. Excuse me. It broke the root system up pretty bad. It's never really recovered. Got a pretty nice crop. It's a nice mango. It tastes similar to a Zill, a little bit better. And I've just picked a few of those so far.
And all these trees are over 30 years old, pretty much, right?
These are. Now, this tree here is a Kent.
Loaded.
And it had even quite a bit more last year. It was ridiculous. But that was a seedling. And actually, Walter Zill top worked this for me way back 12 years ago or so. And put Kent on. And now I have Kent. But you see here, that's bacterial black spot. And it is susceptible, and I lost about 10% of my fruit last year to that. And this year, what happens is the infected fruit falls off first, and I've had some infected fruit fall off, not much, 6 or 7. I got to dispose of that properly. But, looking at it from the ground, I don't see much going on with disease, but as it gets riper, it starts manifesting itself. But I'm starting to get Kents. I've already started picking Kents this last week. So the Kents, supposedly late season, but the trees really don't adhere to a strict schedule. It depends on the weather conditions. You might have the weather conditions that a late season mango likes, and it triggers it, it initiates, and then it blooms. And so now here you are with a lot of Kents coming in June, which you're not supposed to do. When we get to the Beverly tree, I'll show you the same thing. Late season mango coming in early. This is an avocado tree here, and this is a Marcus pumpkin. Last year I had about 6 on a tree. The year before I had a couple 100 pounds, best crop I ever had. And this year, I haven't counted them, but it looks like it's going to do pretty good. It's a big avocado. I like it quite a bit. It doesn't rate that high, but customers that buy it seem to like it. It hardly has any problems. You almost never get a dark spot in it or anything like that. So it's a real consistent avocado, excuse me. And this is a Mamey, Pantene Mamey. And these normally come in July. This tree here is a Rosy Gold. I have 2 Rosy Gold trees. I have the one by the road, and this is the one that's on the south side of the property. This is on the north side of the property, 125 feet away or so, and they're on different schedules, which is the way it works. So this one, no first crop, and now it's coming in June, where the other one, it came in April. But this one is protected, so I don't lose any fruit due to wind, and this time of the year the wind's not an issue anyhow. This row basically has been unproductive. This is a Val Carrie. This is a Val Carrie. They didn't even bloom this year at all. Nothing.
Well, how old are these trees?
It's about 6 years old. And, you know, these are vigorous trees, and I don't think they like the spacing. Now, this is an Angie. For whatever reason, this Angie's in the shade because of this lychee tree. And this wants to get leggy on me, and I've trimmed it back, and I've got to trim it some more to try to control it. But over here we have a honey kiss. This was a top work tree also. It was a Zill, and it was converted into a honey kiss. And this has got a nice crop on it this year. Honey kiss. There. I do have a honey kiss from the nursery on the west side of the property. It didn't even bloom this year. And this one over here, which is on the interstock, very good crop. So here you have two honey kiss on the same property, 125, 150 feet apart. One's loaded, the other one didn't even bloom. So interesting dynamics. This is a Kiet. I have two Kiet trees. The other one got very infected with the bacterial black spot, and a few years ago I lost 80% of the fruit, and I cut it way back and tried to, and I actually added a honey kiss graft on there too. But this one never got nearly as infected, only 50 feet, 60 feet away. This one, the worst I ever got was about 25% fruit infected, and the other one 80%. So there's two trees, same variety. One gets hammered and the other one gets affected, but not, you know, it's livable. This is a Val Carrie at a nice double crop. I'm working on the second crop now, and not a lot left on that tree, but it's produced very well. This was a seedling that was top work. This is Dot, double crop, working on the second crop now. And so here's one, here's a Dot right there. A Dot's a real good mango to kind of tell you when to pick it. It has resin droplets that'll form on the outside, and whenever you see that, you know it's good to pick. But see, this one has a little split in it for whatever reason. Just happened. Now this is the other Kiet tree that was very severely infected with bacterial black spot and botrytis rot, and I cut it way back. And even after it was cut back 3 years ago, it still had infection in it. So I think the infection stays in the bark, in the trunk. And so once you got it, you got it. I did put some grafts on it of honey kiss on the other side. I had several grafts. Some of them took, some of them didn't. And so I got some honey kissed over there. And this one didn't do much this year. It had a pretty good crop last year, but I had a mango thief that came in here and stole 90% of the fruit on that particular tree. So this is a Julie, working on the second crop, almost finished. This is a Van Dyke, and over here, just knocked off a Julie, and that's a Julie in the ground. This is a Graham. It's a seedling of Julie from Trinidad, and it's got a pretty good crop on it.
All right, that's a Graham. Seedling of Julie from Trinidad.
It's a seedling of Julie from Trinidad. It's got kind of a spicy taste to it. And now, if you remember when you were here before, I had this top work. This was a Bombay, and I converted it to coconut cream. And there's coconut cream on here now, and that one was ready to pick. And we'll put it over here on the workbench.
So that's a coconut cream. All right.
And
top work to a Bombay.
I put a lot of grafts up there. In fact, too many of them took, and I might have to take and thin out some of that.
So too many episodes. They all
So you don't know how many you're gonna take and how many aren't. And this one, you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grafts, and I probably don't need 7 grafts. But this was Bombay. It's now coconut cream. And when you have this inner stock in here, you've got the graft from the nursery where you got your root stock. And now you came in here and top worked it. So you got this inner stock, which is Bombay, that absolutely affects the behavior of your tree. That's going to make that tree more vigorous because it's got Bombay in there. That inner stock has an impact. this tree is a Carrie.
It's a Carrie. Wow.
To me, I think it's a top work. When I asked Gary Zill about it, he couldn't remember if it was a top work. But you look and see where it's branching. That to me tells me it's got to be a top work, because Lawrence Zill, he liked to do a lot of these high top work grafts, and this looks like exactly the kind of work he would do. So I'm convinced this is a top work tree. But while we're at it, there's the Carries, and they jump out of the tree very quickly. But now that's going to have perfect flavor. You pick them too early, there's a point where you cross the line and you lose substantial flavor, and then you cross another line, they won't even ripen at all. But when you pick them like this, when they're nice and totally smooth, that's going to be a very flavorful mango. Over here, this is a top work. This was a Kiet in Van Dyke, and I converted it into a Golden Delight and a Pineapple Pleasure. My Pineapple Pleasure part is never bloomed. This is a Golden Delight. And as I said, I think it's got Kent parentage, shaped like a Kent. The texture of the flesh is like a Kent. It gets completely yellow. Nice sweet mango. It's pretty popular. And it doesn't seem to have disease issues either. I'm going to put this there just to get it out of our way. Now this is Valencia Pride.
Another Valencia Pride.
It's got a pretty nice crop this year. I've been picking for a week and a half, 2 weeks. Probably got about 100 mangoes off the tree so far, and got quite a few more. Very vigorous tree. I trimmed it, religiously year after year. Try to keep it at a decent height. It's quite a battle, but it's done well this year. Last year I only had about 60 mangoes, and the mango thief got about 55 of those. And but he's in jail now, so he won't be able to do that this year. This tree was a Kent. It was growing up too tall, so I cut it back to bring it down and shorten it up. And then I added some grafts. I added some Angie on it, and I only thought one graft took. I thought over here I had a graft that took. I didn't realize until I got fruit that was a graft that took, and I don't know how I missed it. But so what you got now is you got Kent, and then you got Angie, and it's big. And so this is an example of what happens on interstock. You see how vigorous that Angie's growing in there?
Yeah.
Well, that's not normal, but it's Kent interstock, and so now you got Angie up here. So that's Angie.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happens. This
is
Zill 80 here.
I actually have Angie on a Kent
okay.
graft too.
This is the
So
Zill 80.
That's Zill 80.
Let me show you another late season mango. Now, while we're walking over there, though, this tree was some Zill product. That I don't think it's even a Zill mango, but it was something that Gary had grafted in here, and it wasn't that good, wasn't productive. And so I converted this tree, and this part is Fairchild, and this part over here, let's see if I can remember, this is a Super Julie. Now, the problem you have again is the Super Julie's getting shaded by the Fairchild, and the Fairchild is kind of vigorous, and I think that's because of the interstock situation again. So, getting a little too tall, and that probably needs to be cut. This tree here is a Beverly. It's considered to be an August mango, late season mango. I've been picking these for almost 2 weeks, since almost the beginning of June. So again, just because someone says it's a early season, mid-season, late season, doesn't mean it's always going to work that way. It may work that way most of the time, but it's not going to work that way all the time, because sometimes the weather conditions, they just set up where the tree likes it, and this tree liked the cool weather timing, and it initiated it, triggered it, it bloomed. And so here you are with Beverly's coming in since the beginning, almost the beginning of June. And you got a nice crop along this fence line. And pretty good crop up here too. This tree has had problems with bacterial black spot, but so far this year, it's only about a 10% issue. Here's one that fell off, and that one's clean. So we can even try that later.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Beverly.
It's got kind of a peachy flavor to it.
Yeah.
Before the new Zill stuff, it was considered to be the best late season mango. All right, let's walk over this way. This is a hatcher.
That's a hatcher. Okay.
And the hatchers had really serious problems with bacterial black spot. I cut, about 3 years ago, I cut all the foliage off this tree and treated it, with the strongest organic products you could get. And it helped a little bit, but, I still lost 35–40% of the fruit last year. This year so far, we're getting very close to harvest. Things are looking pretty good. I've only had a couple pieces of fruit that's shown anything. But the way that disease manifests itself is right at the end when the fruit starts ripening, where it loses protective components. That's when it kicks in. But normally you'll see some little flecks of black on it, and that's where it's going to start. I don't see that, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that most of that's going to be good. Fair crop. I don't like it, fresh personally. It's not my mango, but it's a very good dried mango. It has a good seed to flesh ratio, and in a dried configuration, it's just very good. For me, I don't like spicy mangoes dried. I don't like Jakarta's dried. I don't like Carrie's dried. I just don't like that. They're good in smoothies and things like that, ice cream, but not dried for me. This tree I'm converting. This is Kiet. Got a bloom, had a little fruit, and it got up BB size and still got burned off by powdery mildew. And this is a Nam Doc Mai 1. And this tree for 5 years didn't hardly produce at all. Last year it produced pretty well. This year it had about a 50% canopy bloom, and where it did bloom it produced well. And working on that. This is Edward.
Wow, this is a big Edward. Look at that.
Now this Edward tree had a tremendous first crop. I was picking lots of Edwards all the month of May. I was getting I probably got a couple 100 pounds of Edwards on that first crop off of this one tree. Not a big tree, but it's growing into these other two trees. It was just too close together. And now I've got a second crop, which is much smaller, but the Edward was just...
So they are growing into each other. What kind of tree is this?
This one originally was a Carabao, Philippine mango. That's what's left here. And then I converted it because, it wasn't that popular. And I added some grafts, and that graft. And
so how far is that from the Edward, do you think?
Probably 15 feet, maybe.
15
it's just
feet.
Too close. I took trees out of here when I bought the property. They just had stuff jammed in, and it doesn't work. And over here, this was a Wally, and this part is still a Wally. But what I did is I added orange sherbet on here. And this is getting more sun, so I got a little bit of bloom. Some of the bloom didn't set, some did. That's at least some orange sherbet, whereas the other one, which was done before this, is never bloomed, and it's because it's getting a lot more shade. And this is a named seedling called a Tango. That's kind of a citrusy taste, very sweet. Very Tango. And it's a real nice fruit.
It's a
chill
seedling
on a hot day. Very sweet, but it does have a strong citrus kick to it. So, anyhow. So what we can do, Paul, is we can cut a couple mangoes if you would like, do a little taste testing.
Sure.
Now, I'm not sure if this one's going to be ready to cut, but these are. Now these are some carries that fell off the tree. And I know you've had carry. Have you had a Bailey's Marble
I
before?
haven't had Bailey's Marble.
You have?
No, but I have carry tree, so.
Okay. Well, this is when they are fully ripe. The flavor is going to be like, and this is what you want. You know, if you start picking them early, the temptation there is
Thank you.
you're not going to lose the fruit because it falls off the tree. So, you know, you don't have the drops. With the carry, a lot of that, it is totally ruined. But
Perfect carry.
mm-hmm.
That was perfect.
That's what happens.
All right, this is Bailey's Marble. I actually have a tree, but I haven't had any fruit yet.
Oh, okay. Well, this one just fell off. Now, Bailey's Marble is a soft mango and it bruises easily, so you can see that part right there is that's where part of the bruise.
Bailey's Marble.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
That's a very popular mango. People, it's kind of got a candy taste to it, fruity candy taste, and most people like it a lot.
That's nice. That's a very vigorous tree, though, right?
It is. They believe it's from Hayden parentage, and of course, the Hayden's a very vigorous tree. And that tree, if it wasn't trimmed like it was, it would be much, much bigger. So that's a vigorous tree. If you got a small yard, probably not a good choice. But if you got a bigger property, it seems to be pretty disease resistant too, which is good. I've had very few problems. It seems like it doesn't get bacterial black spot or botrytis rot.
All right, that's Bailey's Marble. And what's that in your hand?
Fairchild.
Fairchild, all right.
Thing with a Fairchild, this one doesn't look good. Let's see, that part is not good. See if the other part's any good. Fairchild, you got to let it get fully ripe where it tastes like a tangerine. And it does have a problem with stem end rot sometimes, so that's what was going on there. Let's see here. That's from Panama.
So that's Fairchild's from Panama?
Mm-hmm. It is from Panama.
That's a Fairchild. So nice. That's delicious.
Mm-hmm. But you got to wait and let it start getting past yellow, where it tastes like a tangerine.
Yep, Fairchild.
Yeah.
That's nice.
All right.
That's the best one I had, actually.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. It's really interesting. I like carries, but you cannot eat a carry and a Fairchild together. I've done it before. I've cut them up and put them in the same container, and what'll happen is within just a short period of time, you can't eat the carry. You got to quit eating the carry because they just don't mix, and it always works the same way. I've done this with my daughter. You stop eating the carry, and you start eating the Fairchild. You can't eat them together, and you'll always stick with the Fairchild. But the carry straight by itself, great. I love it. So it's just one of those little oddities in the mango world. So,
well, everybody, this is Cecil, and I'm going to put his contact information below. If you're in West Palm Beach, he has mangoes for sale here. I'll put his number below in the description. Definitely get here and get them because he knows when to pick them. So check him out. He's open every day except Sunday, and the information is below the video. So thank you very much, Cecil, for showing us around today. Your amazing trees.
You're welcome, Paul. Thank you.
Here's many of the mangoes that he has here for sale here. He has all these different mangoes, and if you get his drop mangoes, look at that, $2 a pound for drop mangoes. That's wonderful. And then here's some more. All these mangoes are organic, let me tell you that. He doesn't use sprays here, and he's always stocked here with mangoes, but you got to get here during his hours, get here early, because they sell out. So get here early.
This is what's left after the end of a busy day.
Yeah, so he even has mangoes left after a busy day, so your best chance of getting a good variety of different mangoes here he is. So thank you very much.
Yeah, show up early. You know, I open there in the week 3 o'clock, so get here early. That's when you get the best selection. I have the boxes filled and backup boxes, so they're good choice of mangoes.